right. So how are you guys tonight?
Very good.
Not so bad.
All right. So if you guys want to do a quick introduction, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you're hoping to get out of this debate, since left of liberal, since you are new to us. Why don't you go first?
So I'm here to debate this fascist. I think it's pretty straightforward. Or you guys also, I guess, plugged this liberalforum.org. I was on there to debate fascists. Somebody I know told me about this forum and said, hey, it's this giant platform for hate speech where this guy is debating scrubs and meth heads and stuff like that. So I thought I'd get on there.
Okay.
So somebody told you to get onto a forum so that you could debate scrubs and meth heads, and you said okay. Is that what happened?
They actually said that you were debating scrubs and meth heads, and
right.
Reporting yourself as some sort of master debater.
So you couldn't wait to get on with me. Are you a scrub or a meth head then, or
neither one? But no, I guess we'll see.
But to defend the forum, you are on the forum.
I'm there to troll fascists.
Okay, but you're there though, so let's not forget that he is there. Whether it's there to troll fascists, that's what it's there for, is for people like you to be able to engage with what you call fascists, or for communists to be able to engage with Nazis in a free-for-all. And have you been banned from that forum, sir?
No, you don't ban Nazis, right? So you wouldn't ban people who would break your rules.
I don't ban anybody, because all views are welcome. So, but anyway,
all views.
Yeah, all views. And who gets banned? Who gets banned? Nobody gets banned. All views are welcome for people to debate. I'm sorry that you hate free speech so much, but as far as my introduction goes, if that's what yours is, my name is Andrew Wilson. I am also known here as Big Papa Fascist, as well I should be. There was a joke that I made in a previous debate, and we're going to stick with Big Papa Fascist because I like it. I'm here tonight to debate with Left of Liberal, who is a communist. I'm glad that he's a member of the forum, and it was me who called him out, to be fair. I just want to be accurate for the record, and I do want to graciously tip my hat to him for coming on, even though he apparently hates the site in which he's welcome. So that's my introduction for the night. I'll turn it back over to you guys.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Each person can give an opening statement, can be as little as 1 minute, but no longer than 5, about this topic, what your stance is. After both of you have given your opening statement, we can open the floor for an open debate. After we conclude the debate portion, we'll go directly into the panel portion, and that's where myself and Todd can join in the discussion, and we can take questions from the audience. Both guests have seen the rules and agreed to the treaty, so any violation will result in a 30-second mute. Each additional violation will tack on another 30 seconds, but hopefully we won't need to do that. Let's try to attack the argument, not the person, and that goes for the audience as well. So with that being said, let's get started with our opening statements. We're going to start with our first topic, which will be communism and distribution. And Andrew, I guess this is your topic, so why don't you get us started?
Absolutely. So here's my position on communism, and I'll also get to distribution. And remember that they're two separate things, but they are intertwined. 1, communism is the most destructive ideology that's ever existed in human history. That's point 1. Point 2, communism has led to massive starvation because of the inability of communists and Marxists to distribute supplies to the masses. My opponent is a neo-Marxist. He's going to refuse to take responsibility for any communist nation that has existed to date, nor the body count to date, which is at 149 million and counting. At the heart of communism and neo-Marxism is the abolition of private property. The other thing about communism that I take issue with is what they call the lumpen proletariat, which is what my opponent likely considers modern conservatives to be. If you're not familiar with the term, what it means is anti-revolutionaries or riffraff or things like this. My ultimate point that I did want to make tonight, and I'm glad he came on for me to make it, is that neo-Marxists at their core are just jealous people. They're absolutely jealous. They're jealous of the jocks that fuck their girlfriends in high school. They're jealous of the man with the balls as big as the Death Star like me, and they're obsessed with getting revenge on them. And so what they do is they gather together with their little buddies and try to have little proletariat revolutions. And it's disgusting. And you'll find that most of them are at the lower rungs of society. They own nothing. They have dead-end jobs, and they're pretty much worthless to our great capitalist system. I think my opponent's tactic tonight will be to qualify me as a fascist, but to qualify himself as a neo-Marxist, and will try to shrug off all the Marxist ideology that has been followed by other countries by calling it some other type of ism, be it Maoism, he'll call it Stalinism, he'll call it every type of ism except what type of ism it is, which is Marxism. My opponent also does not want free speech of any kind. He wants the liberalforum.org to be shut down for hate speech. He wants all hate speech to be banned. He doesn't want any type of speech at all. And the reason he doesn't want that is because that is the way that he can control, and his what he would call proletariat friends could control anti-communist messaging. My last point on this is that Marxists can never seem to establish value on anything without using some type of market, which is why it's always failed historically nationwide, in any nation it's been tried in. So those are my opening points, and I'll cede the floor.
Wow. Okay. So your original position that you put on your forum was that communism is a wretched form of government, and that it is unable to distribute goods and services to its population in any meaningful manner.
That's correct.
Okay, cool. So you still stand by that, right?
Yes, I do.
So you think, first of all, incorrectly, that communism is a form of government? It shows, like a basic lack of understanding of the word or the definition of communism.
So then, can you qualify for me then any type of communism that's ever been applied without government control?
Communism that has been applied, you're using the word wrong.
How am I using it wrong? There have been communist nations.
There have been communist parties. So I'm being interrupted, but go ahead.
Sorry, I'll yield the floor, and I won't interrupt. I'm sorry, sir.
Communism, as defined by Karl Marx, is a classless and stateless society. Okay, so just so you know, that's the definition of communism from the guy who invented communism. So to say that we're going to try to apply communism to something, it just shows a lack of understanding on your part, or even kind of counter research. You claim to hate communism so much. It would be funny to know exactly how much you knew about it. So there's about 5 steps in the lead up to being communism, right? So I'm sure you know about that. I'm sure you've read tons of Marx. You hate him so much. There's primitive communism, feudalism, capitalism, socialism, and then finally stateless communism. Communism isn't a government. It's not a form of government. It's not when government does stuff. It's not when tax money is being redistributed to provide for social programs. That's not communism. Okay. You can say that that's some tenets of Marxism. You can say it's some tenets of collectivism. But your original statement that you got to stand by is that communism is a wretched form of government.
That's correct, because only governments can enforce communism, sir. So are you saying then in the abstract that you're saying that communism is an abstract, and that every form of communism on earth which has been run by governments is not real communism then?
what you're saying is there are forms of communism. No one says that. Even communist parties don't say this is communism. We are experiencing communism. We are living in communism. That doesn't happen. They say we are striving towards communism, but anyone who's ever read Marx understands that there are fucking steps to this shit.
Marx wasn't the only one who advocated communism. Engels also advocated communism. So did Lenin. Lenin advocated communism.
Sure, yes.
Marx was not the only person who ever fielded a communist dream. And like most ideologies, they're worked on by other people. So which form of communist are you? Are you just a pure Marxist where there's no government, no nothing, and we all sing Kumbaya and hold hands, or what?
Every Marxist knows that communism isn't a form of government. Everybody, even Leninists, even Stalinists, even Trotsky, I mean, everybody really knows what communism is, I guess, outside of fascists, apparently. And obviously, most of America would not be able to define communism. People say that Joe Biden is a communist. I'm not a type of communist. You labeled me as a communist. I never said I was a communist.
So what is left of liberal? How far left do you get before you're a communist? I mean, you do have Karl Marx as your picture. You don't want me to think you're a communist, though. I'm confused.
So I've got to label myself as a communist, right? Or a socialist if I'm working towards socialism inside of the fall of capitalism where we are now. If I'm working toward bringing about a socialist society, then I would be a socialist. Or if I read Marx and think that he was right about stuff and think that he had good ideas, well, then I'm a Marxist.
So are you a Marxist?
Yeah,
okay,
I'm a Marxist.
Calling you a communist, so then
ideally,
a communist is adequate then. What is your problem with the label of communist if you're a Marxist? He wrote the book on communism.
Right, yeah. So you're saying he should be the end-all be-all of what communism is if he wrote the book.
Oh, I'm just saying he's the starting point for communism.
Right, he shouldn't be able to define communism.
No, I'm saying that labeling you as a communist seems to be adequate considering that you're a follower of Marx and you just agreed that you're a communist.
Sure.
Okay,
Maybe
well, then there's no problem with the definitions here on who is what. So there's no reason to argue that you're not a communist because you're a communist.
I'm not a member of any communist party, but I would like to see communism brought about. Ideally, utopian communism would be great. I think we should strive towards socialism at this point in this country.
But because that's the first step to
obviously Lenin says yes. It's the first step to
communism. You just said that too. You just said that, that Marx himself said that
he's more famously quoted.
Okay.
Right. But I guess the main weird thing here is that you don't know what communism is or the definition of communism by Marx, or agree that communism isn't a form of government. You don't know how to explain that communism has been applied to something. Explain that.
So let's try one more time. What I'm pointing to is every government in history that has what happens every single time is the Cultural Revolution, which is what you're striving for. Yes. Once the Cultural Revolution is done, communism comes into play, but there needs to be an enforcement arm. And so a heavy-handed government seems to always come in to enforce the tenets of communism. So when I say that communism is a form of government, what I mean by that is to say that I've never seen a form of communism that did not have government as the enforcement arm for the communism.
Is capitalism a form of government?
That's not really what we're discussing here.
I'm just saying, has capitalism ever come about where there is not a government enforcement arm for capitalism?
No, it has.
So we can't make those two.
I'm not a big fan of capitalism either. Rather, I'm a big fan of what's called free enterprise. But that aside, we're not discussing capitalism. We're discussing communism. And
we're discussing what's called the mode of production.
Okay, right. Yeah, but every time I've seen communism implemented, there has been government control. Is that true or not true?
Has every economic system in the history had government control?
Not everyone, no. It depends on how micro and macro you want to make the scale.
Sure, let's say most. have most
Yes.
systems of okay. So every system of
Absolutely, but
economics is a
you're defining
government
your
under
system as being non-government, but every single time your system's applied, there's government involved. That's what I'm saying.
your argument is that any economic system should be referred to as a government because it takes government to enforce the economic system. And I'm
Yeah,
saying that
that's right.
what I'm saying, okay,
right.
so any economic system is government, right? So if you live under the mode of production of capitalism, that is your government, that's what you're purporting.
Yes, what I'm saying, no, I'm saying the enforcement arm is the government for the system of which the economics of the country operates.
So if you knew anything about communism, then you would say socialism needed an enforcement arm.
Yes, socialism is the lead up to communism.
Communism is a stateless society. Stateless. It's defined by Karl Marx as a stateless society.
That's true.
You can't have a form of government that is a stateless society. That's a form of society. It's actually a mode of production.
I concede that that's absolutely accurate, that that's what Karl Marx said. But again, I will refer you to every single time communism's been applied, it has not been that way.
Yeah, what you're doing is applying Christianity to Mormonism and every other cult that it's been applied to. You can't say, well, they took this one idea and they said this about it. So, that's fine. We can use everything that these people did.
What metric should I use to judge communism other than every time it's been applied? Exactly.
Maybe you should look up the definition of communism, read some Marx, understand the idea and the ideological.
I understand the ideological conception of communism, and I understand what you want with a stateless society where workers own the mean of production. But that does require the proletariat to have some type of revolution, does it not?
So those are the steps to becoming communist. Yes.
Yes. Okay. So the proletariat has to have a revolution. And are you not trying to have a revolution right now, utilizing what you would consider the proletariat to bring down capitalism so you can bring in your stateless society?
Am I not trying to have a revolution? I would like to revolutionize the way that our economy works so that we don't burn through all of our resources. Yes.
So revolution. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So
we're revolutionary.
So to put this in perspective, let's ask you then, what will you do to enforce that?
Ideally, communism doesn't have to be enforced. Everyone understands that there's a common ownership of property.
So
it's a stateless society. There's no need for any kind of enforcement. Now,
so libertarians.
No, we're not anarcho-capitalists.
Got it. So you want to live in a commune with no enforcement and disregard the entire hierarchy in which mankind exists. I need you to explain exactly how you're going to end up with a stateless society without a hierarchy, because nobody's ever been able to do it to date.
So you're wanting me to just read you Marx?
No, I want
your position in this debate was that communism is a wretched form of government.
That's right. It's a wretched form of government because only governments have ever instituted communism.
Can we agree that it's not a form of government? That you said governments have to enforce it, but governments don't have to enforce themselves.
They don't have to enforce your ideology.
Right. Okay. So you see that it's an ideology.
Within your utopian society, there would be no government. But every place I can point to where there's been communism, there's been government. Is that
there's been communism because there's a party that says they are communist?
Yeah,
because
of course. Well, they're followers of Marx
right now is living in communism.
What's that?
China right now, that's communism to you.
Yeah, well, look, I have no other examples of actual communism. If you're talking about this is the theory,
this is your enemy. I would think that you would read Marx to know what
I've read
Marx talking about. But instead, you read the head. It's like reading the title and not clicking the link and then sharing it anyway. You're like, oh, they're the Communist Party of China. I'm sure there's no capitalism going on there. DPRK, that's the Democratic Republic. Oh, I'll take them at their word. You can't just take a party and say, well, they call themselves communist. Fuck it, they're communists. I don't have to read any theory. I don't have to understand what the word communism means. You've clearly thought communism was a form of government. I've heard you say it in past debates.
It is a form of government.
You still won't concede that it's not a form of government.
I won't.
There's a,
Because what you're talking about is ideology versus application.
what I'm
And
talking about is
I have
taken.
application on my side of your ideology being applied, sir. And when your ideology is applied, what happens is famine, death, and destruction every single time. Every single time. So you can state that from an ideological standpoint, your Marxism is absolutely fine because, after all, it's just ideological, and this is what happens without a state after the proletariat has torn down the bourgeoisie, and we live in a nice stateless society where we all hold hands and sing kumbaya. But we've seen the ideology applied many, 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 many times, and can point to many, many examples of it being applied, and what happens is death and destruction. So at what point do I say, well, it's nice that your ideology is all sunshine, but all I can ever point to with communism is the actual government application of it?
Yeah, what you're doing is you're pointing to capitalism, right?
No, I'm not. Soviet Russia wasn't capitalist, sir.
But what I'm saying is I could point to capitalism and adhere anything that's happened under a capitalist regime to capitalism. But it wouldn't be the case, right? There's been genocide committed under capitalist regime, but I wouldn't say, well, capitalism dictates genocide. What
genocides have been done under capitalist regimes?
Armenian genocide. Let's see. There was the genocide most famously on the Jewish people by the Nazis.
And the Nazis weren't capitalistic. They have a 31-point socialist manifesto that you can read yourself. I'm surprised. I thought if you knew so much about capitalists that you would have studied the Nazis.
Yeah, I know that the Nazis were definitely capitalists. That
they were definitely capitalists. So when they seized up the means of production and started making Volkswagens, that was a capitalist venture?
Actually, they made a deal with the trade unions, kicked out all the socialists, and banned striking. And that's the way that they made Volkswagen. They had compulsory work from people in their government.
That's not capitalism.
It's not socialism.
But it's not capitalism.
Yeah, it's capitalism.
No, it's not capitalism because government intervened.
You're saying socialism is the workers own the means of production, right? That's literally the definition of socialism is a political and economical theory of social organization that advocates the means of production.
It depends on the qualifier, though, doesn't it?
Well, you can't say they made Volkswagen. Was there means of production owned by all of the workers across the board? Was there no capitalism going on?
They made my only point. That wasn't my only point. I had multiple points. One of those points is that they made a national highway system. They have a 31-point socialist plan that you can look to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been
social programs, so you're calling them socialists. Got it.
Many of them have what you would consider socialist tendencies, yes.
Socialist tendencies, just not across the board socialism, right? Because the workers didn't own the means of production. There's still surplus value being extracted by the workers.
Everything is a mixed economy. Almost everything is a mixed economy. I can't point to anything that doesn't have some mix of economic socialism and capitalism anywhere ever.
Good job. So we can agree that they were definitely capitalists. Right?
No, we can agree that maybe they had a mixed economy that employed some forms of capitalism, but that doesn't mean that they were across the board fascist or socialist either. So you can't mix it in and say they were absolutely capitalists because they weren't. And
I'm saying they were in a capitalist at very best. Let's say I take your disingenuous argument and say that they were democratic socialists, right? They're still capitalists.
I didn't say they were democratic socialists.
That's as far left as they're going to get, right? In anybody's mind.
No, it's not as far left as they'll get. There's more extreme forms of leftism, including more socialist programs than what democratic socialists would generally apply.
You're saying that the Nazis were leftists.
I'm saying that they had a mixed economy, and that you could point to a lot of leftist things that they did that you would not find in generally in a capitalistic society. Absolutely.
Being openly fascist.
What's that?
Being openly fascist, right? They weren't fascist.
Mussolini was a fascist.
Yeah.
So tell me then, what made the Nazis fascist exactly? Was it the authoritarianism or was it the economic policies?
Was it the totalitarianism or was it the ultra-right nationalism?
Totalitarianism isn't necessarily a qualifier of fascism.
I believe Mussolini would disagree with you.
Well, Mussolini can set up whatever he wants. You just said that other people can qualify Marxism without being Marxist.
Mussolini coined fascism. Mussolini wrote.
So what? If he coined it, he can coin the term all he wants. You can't say out of one side of your mouth that all of these communist nations weren't actually communist because this is what Marxism actually is. But then point to Nazi Germany and say that they were fascist because Mussolini said he was a fascist. It doesn't work that way.
No,
you have
Mussolini
to describe specifically.
You said fascism is not necessarily totalitarian.
I'm sorry. I'll let him speak. I don't mean to speak over you. Go ahead.
You said Mussolini. You said fascism isn't necessarily totalitarian. I said Mussolini would disagree with you. Mussolini said fascism is totalitarian. So what I'm saying is you have to look to the origin of what you're talking about for answers. If you want to look at communism, you have to look at Karl Marx and what he said about it. If you want to look at fascism, sure, look at Mussolini and what he said about it. And he literally said
what about the people who build off the ideologies? They don't matter. Only the source matters. So Engels.
Are we gonna blame Catholicism for Mormonism now?
No, but we're gonna blame further popes for how Catholicism is now applied today. Absolutely.
Today, you can blame popes for what is happening today. Sure.
Right. So the thing is that you can build off of the capital or the Catholic structure based on how other popes implement Catholicism, just like you can with Marxism. That doesn't seem unreasonable at all. Isn't that what you're trying to build on when you call modern people fascists? Now, I'm not Mussolini, but I'm a fascist, right?
There was only one Jesus, right? I mean, like, if you even believe he existed. So he wrote the book, right? Let's say if he's God or whatever. He dictated the book, or the Council of Nicaea. The Council of Nicaea made the book to quell the Jewish rebellion. Who knows how? Let's debate that another time. But we can say that the Pope didn't write the book.
Yes, we can say that the Pope didn't write the book.
Okay, however, so you're saying that there's a central authority in Catholicism. You're talking about the Pope. There's no central authority in communism, especially when you're talking about Karl Marx, because Karl Marx isn't the Pope in this situation. He wrote the book. So it's a false dichotomy that you're trying to. It's no juxtaposition that makes sense there.
So what happens when the Crusades happened is that's not actual Catholicism? Because I'm asking you, when the Crusades happened, was that not actual Catholicism?
No, yeah, that was definitely Catholicism, right?
Okay, but I don't understand, because that was a different Pope. Just because he was applying the ideology of the Catholic Church, it doesn't matter.
You can't blame Jesus for the Crusades, dude. You're blaming Marx for everything that happened with who called themselves communists. You're saying that the Protestants and the Catholics and the Mormons and the JWADs and anybody who molest little kids under the little hierarchy that is the Christianity, Jesus is responsible for this, or is it the people who interpreted this wrong?
Jesus didn't write the Bible, sir.
What I'm saying is you're blaming God, right?
No, but no, I'm not, because God might have inspired the Bible, but again, did not write the Bible.
Right, I get it. I'm not religious.
But here, back to what you're saying when you're talking about Marxism. I can't point to the true ideological Marxism because we've never seen it implemented.
Good job.
All I can point to is what's happened whenever Marxism is implemented.
You can say those people are trying to implement Marxism. Now, but you don't know a lot about Marxism. You thought it was a form. You thought communism was a form.
It is again, all I can point to is governments who have implemented it. I can't point to any type of pure Marxism because it's never existed.
Right. And pure capitalism with no government has never existed, because you need governments to enforce that, right?
That's correct. You do.
Okay, so it's an economic system. It's a mode of
production. My point for me.
It's not a government. It's a mode of production. You're saying since the government, political parties have called themselves communists, and those governments have tried to reach communism through socialism. You're saying I can attribute anything that's happened under those political parties to communism. It's just not a fair argument. You can't
Why
attribute
can't I?
all of the any other
But what
catastrophe
about
that's going on in the
what
world
about the
right now
people?
is the
Okay,
fault of
so to
capitalism, because it's always a mixed economy, right?
fair enough. So to use your philosophy here, the disciples were the ones who built off of the Bible, right? And then other people built off of the Bible from there. But yet people still blame the Bible as being the problem with Christianity in the modern day and from days past, with all of the horrors that Christians have committed across the globe. They blame the book. Is that not a fair argument?
Sure, people blame the book. People
Okay,
blame
right.
the Quran
So
for
then
all of the.
me blaming the book of Marxism for everybody who has followed suit and employed Marxism seems to be also a fair argument.
Well, I'm not saying that those people have a fair argument. I'm saying that it's a fair argument that people do that. People blame the Quran for
Okay,
everything that happens in.
You don't blame Christians for anything because they're not responsible because they're not following the book.
People blame the Quran for everything that Muslims do just because those people are Muslims, but they don't take into account any kind of socioeconomic factors. Their government is in strife. Anything, they're like, oh well, it's just because they're Muslim. It's not because we're colonializing, and it's not because we're going in there and raping them of their resources and disabling their government. None of that. It's the Quran's fault, right? So I'm not saying that that's a good argument or it's even a valid argument. It is definitely an argument that people make.
So do we need to get rid of Christians? Does the ideology? I'm asking you? Does Christianity need to go away? Is it holding society back?
I think Christianity and religion as a whole will eventually go away, especially with the spread of information and how easily accessible information is now. I know there's like
do you think Christians have been responsible for atrocities?
Do I think some Christians have been responsible for atrocities? Some like groups of Christians?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely some
And
groups of Christians.
Was that inspired by their holy book?
Not every time. A lot of the time it was inspired by racism, and they just used their holy book as an excuse or tried to find
so it was inspired by
and take them out of context.
So it was inspired by their holy book. Got it.
You can say it was justified by them by their holy book, sure.
Right. So again, the building blocks of communism, if we can point at the source, I can most certainly blame Karl Marx for all of the horribleness that came from all of the governments that have implemented Marxism, as it has caused 179 million deaths to date, sir. And not only is that a fair argument, but you seem to be making the case that that's a fair argument.
Okay.
If you can pinpoint where the political policies of those governments killed people, right? Let's say famine and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And you can point to where Marx said to do that. Yeah. If he said, hey, go kill all the kulaks, Marx didn't say that, right?
Oh, no, but Marx did have a lot of choice things to say about Jews and minorities, didn't he?
He did? Yeah.
Yeah, he did. And you still apply his ideology today, even though you claim that you're the anti-racist. Explain that one to me. So you're saying that you don't actually follow Marxism. You follow what? Neo-Marxism then?
Okay, so you're asking me if I follow
I'm asking you why it is that the person whose effigy right now you have as your profile pic was an avowed racist himself, horrible racist, and how you square that with your anti-racist ideology.
Okay, so what part of my ideology is racist? That your
anti-racist ideology, sir. How do you square Marx's racist ideology, which you just conceded was a racist ideology?
Yeah,
with your anti-racist ideology, using that as your effigy when you are the one probably advocating to pull down the statues of racists. You want to square that with me?
Yeah, let's square that. So nowhere in my economic policy or the policy that I want to revolutionize the economy of the United States and have the workers get paid for what they do, none of that has anything to do with Marx's stance on the Jewish problem or whatever you might be referring to, right? I'm not sure where you could point to anywhere where I've advocated for any of that. I mean, you can say this guy said that. Yes, he said that. Definitely. Nowhere in any of the economic policies was that even brought up.
Okay, so again, I'm going to ask this question. Pay attention to what I'm actually saying. You right now have an effigy of a racist as your avatar. Do you understand that?
Yeah, definitely. He's a
okay,
racist.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
He's a racist.
Yeah.
You want to pull down the statues of racists in the United States. Do you
Yes.
understand how fucking hypocritical it is to say that I can take this portion of what this person says and ignore the racism, but I can't do the same thing with a Confederate statue?
I don't think that that's the same thing at all. The Confederacy
Why not?
fought to enslave an entire group of people. Marx wrote some letters to Ingalls, right? So we built these statues in the 60s to troll civil rights and black people. We would need to tear that shit down. That's a monument.
But not
to
the
hate.
effigy.
Okay,
but not
Andrew,
the
you gotta stop interrupting. Well, both of you guys actually have to stop interrupting. And
Okay, I'm
help each
sorry.
other.
I'll let you speak. I didn't mean to interrupt if I did.
No, go ahead.
Again, I want you to understand how hypocritical this sounds to everybody who's watching you right now.
Yeah.
You have the effigy. Now, if I came on here with the
Definitely
effigy of
trolling
General
with
Lee,
right
if I
here.
came on here with the
And
effigy
left of
of
liberal
General
need to
Lee,
let Andrew speak now.
if I had the effigy of General Lee, what would people think? Yeah, that's right. You already know what people would think. Yes, that I was a
Because
racist.
Marx is a-
So there
Marx
you
is a
are with a effigy of an
racist,
avowed racist who you claim is a racist and concede is a racist
Yeah,
as
he's
your
a
effigy, but you say, well, I just like his economic policies. But if I came on here with an effigy of Mussolini and said I just liked his economic policies, no, that's not good. I'm an avowed fascist and I'm an authoritarian, right?
Well, if you knew anything about fascism, you would know
else.
that Mussolini's economic policies were fascism. And if you knew anything about General
Thank
Lee,
you.
right,
Thank
you would
you.
know
You
that
don't
he is
need-
famous for being a Confederate, right? Is
So you
Karl
don't
Marx
need-
famous for being a racist? Is he a symbol? When you see Karl Marx's face, you think anti-Semitism and racism, or you think Marxism and economic policy.
They
Or
should.
you might think
People should think racism, and they should think about the lower class of the proletariat that he referred to as garbage. Yes, they should think that. Just because you're better at hiding what Karl Marx was about doesn't mean that
is
wasn't
what
what he was about. And there's your effigy, your
Is that
racist,
what he was about?
your fucking racist ass effigy that you're speaking.
Explain to me. Tell me, how many books did he write about racism?
Who?
Where in Karl Marx's writings was the racism found? Was it in a book that he wrote, or was it in a letter?
Well, it was in a combination. In his book, he did talk about the lower class of the proletariat, and he was speaking specifically about races in some context there, and also in some of his letters to Engels.
So you think that
he's racist? That you conceded? Yes, I do.
That he's a devout racist for sure, and that he's known for racism, and that it should be interchangeable with the Confederate flag.
If he's not known for racism, why did you say that you knew he was a racist?
Because I know a lot of people were racist. Most people from history are racist, and they're not good people. Right?
So you're allowed
a slave owning president. You're still a slave owner.
So
right?
you're allowed to take from him what you want and leave the racism aside. But yet, if I tried to do that with a form of right-wing politics, you would say he's clearly following a racist. You want to tear down statues of Confederates. You want to tear down statues of what you consider racist, but yet at the same time speak through the effigy of somebody you concede is a racist. That's literally the most hypocritical thing I could ever imagine a person doing, sir.
I can understand why you would think that, right? Because
I'm
you
sure
see the Confederates as just racists. That's all they did. They just didn't like black people, or they just didn't like Jews, right? You don't see that the Confederate flag is a symbol that they fought and killed and died for having slaves, just to keep fucking slaves. Like that shit is their entire identity.
And Marxists went on to kill 179 million people, and you're speaking through a racist effigy. While at the same
how
time,
did he kill 179,000 people You can say
Not
Stalin.
179,000, 179 million. I
Okay,
just wanna correct
179 million. You can say Stalin did that. If you want to,
No,
say,
no, it's not just Stalin.
okay, how many people have
everybody who
starved
adheres.
under
It's
capitalism?
everybody who adheres to Marxist ideology added up as 179 million.
How many
And
people
again,
have starved, just starved, because of capitalism? How many people?
almost under the capitalist system, I don't know how many you could equate to as having starved, but I don't think in the West it's many. Right now, almost everybody in the West eats like kings, sir.
So 100 years ago, what 1942, 1930s,
Mhm.
in the 1930s, people starved, right? Since then, how many people have starved under capitalism?
Under which form of capitalism?
On the earth, if every single government is not a communist government, if the mode of production is capitalism, then
every
how
single
many people
government's
starve?
mode is not capitalism or the free market.
Okay, so which country?
Which country? What?
Which country doesn't have capitalism? And
When?
hasn't?
In what decade? What do you mean? Frame the question so I can understand it.
After World War II, let's say after the fall of the state capitalist Soviet Union,
Mm-hmm.
where's the capitalism? Which place hasn't had capitalism at all? No capitalism. Is it? No, I mean North Korea.
Well, they all have a form of mixed economy.
Okay, and
if you're talking about people who have mostly capitalistic societies, those people are not starving. No.
in Africa, people aren't
have
starving.
mostly communist society they die horribly.
Okay, so the people with social programs in Scandinavia and stuff like that, who actually have social programs that are paid for by their taxes, are doing a hell of a lot better than people in Liberia who don't have those social programs and who are unfettered capitalism, unregulated capitalism. Capitalism.
That's not unfettered capitalism. That's nonsense. What about it is capitalistic?
What about it is not?
Market. It's not a free market. It's
How is it not a free market?
Because it's dictatorial.
You're saying
the government interferes. The government consistently interferes with the markets that are there.
Oh, so nothing is real capitalism now too. So you're gonna say that you can apply communism to anybody who says that they're communist, but nobody's really doing capitalism.
I'm talking about free markets. The freer the market is, the less people tend to starve. That's my point. No, capitalists certainly governments enforce capitalism. I'm not going to dispute that that's true. But what I'm saying is that the freer that the market is and the less regulation on the market, the less people tend to starve. Whereas under Marxism and the implementation of Marxism by, Marxists like yourself, people tend to have 73 year bad weather cycles and all die from famine like they did in Russia.
Right. And when there's child labor and there's coal mining towns where you owe more than you can make, and there's a general store that you basically owe your entire life. People live and die in the same. Then that's unregulated capital. That's fucking utopia.
Did you just quote a song at me? I sold my soul to the company store.
I actually quoted an era of
you quoted
capitalism. Maybe you should look it up.
That was specific to what? What was that specific to? Was that specific to the entire country, or was that specific to just the railroads? You tell me.
The coal mines.
And mostly and the railroads. Yeah.
Okay, so now it's two different industries.
Okay,
but I'm sure
two different
anywhere where there's aggregated industry in one area.
That was not the country as a whole, though. Not like Soviet Russia, where communism was the entire country. So, you can pick apart small little sections of crony capitalism and horrible things that have been done under capitalism. Absolutely. Right. And I don't dispute that that's true. But we've had widespread communism that's countrywide.
We haven't, though. Still don't understand that.
But we have, though, because
we have something that you call communism because you don't understand what it is.
So again, what you're saying is that you can defer responsibility for all forms of any type of communism that has existed to date because it's not pure enough for your Marxist ideology. So you're going to try again. I
feel like that you don't understand what words mean.
I know you keep saying that, but
it's very hard for you to grasp that communism is an ideology and not a form of government.
I get that it's an ideology.
That anyone who calls themselves communist isn't necessarily a communist and shouldn't reflect the ideas and basis of communism.
So try again until we get it right.
I mean, I guess you could look up different words and change your stance. You said, and let's go back to it, because this is what you said. This is your stance here. That communism is a wretched form of government.
Uh-huh.
You've already lost. That is unable to distribute goods and services.
No, I haven't
in a
lost.
meaningful manner.
And here's why I haven't lost. Because
It's a stateless form of government.
Can you point to any communist state to date that was not a government?
I can't point to any communist state to date,
Right.
because communism is stateless. It's
Okay,
in the definition of communism.
But again,
Look up communism right
we've
now.
had communism so many times, and it's never stateless. So at
Okay,
what point
you say
do you
we've had
say,
communism
at what
so many
point do you
times?
say that your ideology is a massive failure because every time it's implemented, it takes state enforcement in order to make it work?
Right. It's never been implemented. There's not state enforcement of a stateless society. I mean, I get that you don't understand, and that you need to go and read Marx and understand that there's progression, that there's different levels. The capitalism is one of the levels of communism. It's one of the stages, right? Capitalism is one of the fucking stages. Socialism is one of the stages. Communism, the word that you said was a government, is stateless. If you're saying that there's some sort of stateless government,
you're talking about in its pure ideological form. I'm pointing to real fucking time examples of it happening on this planet.
when you say it, you don't know what that is.
Why do you not understand the difference between me pointing to actual examples of it actually happening and your ideological unicorn kumbaya singing song from your book that all of these ideological forms came from? I don't understand how you can square the discrepancy there.
I don't understand how you are calling those things communism without knowing what it is. You're saying I can point to examples of communism, but you're not pointing to examples of stateless societies, right? You're not pointing to examples of Marx's definition of communism.
Okay.
You're pointing to examples of people who said they were communists. Like you could point to Nazis and call them socialists. You could point to the DPRK and call them democratic.
But you say communism happens in stages.
I'm saying there are stages to achieve communism.
Okay, but you said it. No, he said it happens in stages. So is socialism, is that a form of communism leading up to communism?
So is capitalism right before that.
Okay, right.
But it's a stage of, or a phase of the...
It's a stage leading up to it. So every time we get to the stage where the proletariat has its revolution, what happens every single time?
We've never
every single time.
There's always been state capitalism. There's always been state capitalism.
So
you say that China is communist, but they are still exploiting the worker. There's no means of production that is commonly owned.
Okay, so for the framing of this debate, then we say that we've never actually had communism, and that your ideology is pure because it's never actually been implemented. That's every other type of ism that just calls itself communism. Is that right?
You're calling it communism. Sure. You can take any government agency you can take any political party in South America who can claim to be communist and then try to attribute everything bad that they ever did to Marx and communism. I can do the same thing with capitalism. It's disingenuous. It's disingenuous. You didn't know that communism isn't a form of government. You're saying, oh, it has to be a form of government because it needs government. The mode of production needs a government to be enforced. Well, communism doesn't. You don't understand that yet. It's classless. Socialism, sure. Socialism needs government.
Communism, as far as your neo-Marxist ideology is concerned. But what's ended up happening is we've seen communism applied by people who follow Marxism and people.
You've seen communism applied in a stateless society.
Guys, I might have to start muting you guys when each one is speaking because you guys are doing a lot of interruption, both of you. So let's try to work on that.
I apologize.
Well, then I'll yield the floor.
I don't think that you've ever seen communism as a stateless society tried. If you can point to a country with a stateless society that was trying communism, please do.
So, in your viewpoint, communism has never existed?
Obviously not.
Okay, right. So everything that I said, that you would essentially say that everything that has been communist up until this point is just some other type of ism and not real communism, is true. Is that right?
It's almost like you knew you didn't know what communism was.
It's almost like I knew exactly what the argument would be from a neo-Marxist who are constantly moving the goalpost because communism fails time and time and time again.
How have I moved the goalpost? I'm sorry. By the actual literal definition from Marx?
Because they have implemented communism, but without state enforcement, you can't have it. That's why.
How have they implemented communism?
Because they followed the teachings of Marx to implement communism in Soviet Russia and in Maoist China. They had the proletariat revolutions, and after the proletariat revolutions were done, we have a hierarchy. We forgot all about that. And the person who generally incites the proletariat revolution becomes the leader of the revolution, and then the leader for the communists. And what ends up always inevitably happening, because human beings exist within a hierarchical structure, is that when the proletariat tears down the existing structure, whoever led the revolution for communism ends up becoming the strong man in charge of it, which is the massive flaw of Marxism, which is why your pure form of Marxism can never come true. I could make the same argument with pure libertarianism and say that that's pure as a driven snow also, because it's never actually been implemented. But there are real-time examples of communism being implemented, and that's the structure it always takes every single time.
There are real-time examples of state capitalism.
Those are examples of communism and Marxism, not state capitalism.
I mean, I guess you can call it communism if you want to be wrong.
You can't argue that Soviet Russia was a state capitalist country.
Yeah, I can definitely argue that.
No, you can't.
Okay,
not unless you put up a position from a Marxist. Unless you put up a position from a Marxist, those are the only people who call it state capitalism, is Marxists.
Are you arguing that the people who study Marx and know what communism is argue mostly that the state capitalist United States, or the state capitalist USSR, was state capitalist? You're saying that the people who wouldn't know about it are the ones who are saying it's not communist?
Are you saying that only Marxists are the ones who study Marxism?
I'm saying that Marxists would probably know a little bit more than you.
So there's probably tens of thousands of people who study Marxism who aren't Marxist, who can also label something as being a Marxist nation without being Marxist themselves.
Mm-hmm. And the fact that they had surplus value taken from their workers and used inside of the state, and the money that the state had, and used that with capitalism, that's not anything to do with communism at all.
They were trying to implement it as best they could.
That's
the problem is that you can't implement it, can you? Because there's always a hierarchy established with humanity. So your entire ideology,
that's never been the problem.
Yeah, that's always been the problem, human nature. I know. But human nature is human nature. And so what's ended up happening is we can't get to your pure as driven snow version of Marxism, because every time we try to implement it, what ends up happening is somebody ends up at the top of the hierarchy who led the proletariat revolution. And those are the people who are followed every single time.
So you think... Oh, go ahead.
I'm not sure how much longer you guys want to go on to this topic, or if you want to move on to the next topic. It's up to you. I don't know how long the next topic is really going to take. Doesn't seem like it's a topic.
I'm good on this one if he is.
You guys want to move on?
Yeah,
do you have anything else to say?
It's clear that he won't concede that communism isn't a form of government. So I guess
I won't concede it at all, because I have nothing but real-time examples proving it's not.
Yeah. Definitely anywhere you look up the definition of communism, it says a stateless classless society. So
no, that's not true. That's not true. It's not true. Anywhere you look up the definition of communism, that's what you'll find. That's a lie.
Got it. Okay. So
yeah, I got it.
Right. And
that's been submitted to the record, by the way.
And I can look up communism and it'll say is a form of government.
Yeah, you can actually. Yes.
No. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
So I think we can just basically, I guess, stop, because he doesn't know the definition of the word communism, which is, I guess, is good for me in the debate.
Fine with me too. This is all fact checked, and I submitted my sources for it. So
great.
All right. So why don't we move on to the next topic? This is just what I kind of fit in because it was a bit of a long topic, but basically you guys are going to be arguing whether medicine today for this pandemic is as good or as bad as it was 100 years ago, right? Is that somewhat like a brief? So I believe this was your top. Can I just like I'm call you like lefty because this left of liberal is a little long. So can you want to give your opening statement since I believe you chose this topic?
Yeah, I chose this topic because Andrew, his quoted position was that modern medicine is not more effective at combating COVID-19 than medicine was at combating the Spanish flu.
That's correct.
So I guess it's really not very hard to make the case here for medicine and the medical achievements of the past 100 years. We couldn't even see viruses, right? We couldn't test for the Spanish flu. We couldn't see viruses until the 1930s, right? So it's very hard to really make the case that we have the same, we're on the same grounds. There was no contact tracing because it seemed like entire cities would get the virus at once. mRNA wasn't even really thought about until 1953. So the mRNA vaccines that have come about in the past year, I guess in the year that COVID came about, would not have anywhere been near possible. They didn't even start coming up with flu vaccines until the 1930s. Antivirals weren't developed until the 1960s. Antivirals are like the number one thing that we give COVID patients. Antibiotics, we didn't have the right kind of antibiotics back then for the pneumonia and the streptococcus that goes along with a weakened immune system due to the flu. I'm just really curious to know why you would think that all of the medical science, that we don't have to grow flu viruses on chicken eggs anymore, and that we have mapped the genome and we can test for viruses now. Why would you think that wasn't more beneficial for us?
This isn't a Q&A session, sir. This is for your opening statement. Are you done with your opening statement?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So are you going to actually state any facts as to how we have done better combating COVID-19 than how we combated the 1918 flu or not? Because if you're not, then I'll just settle the debate now. Because you haven't actually stated anything that
we can test for the flu now.
Okay, but how has that more effectively combated the Corona-19 virus than the Spanish flu? Are you going to make that case or not?
We can test for the flu now. Therefore, we know when people have the flu and can quarantine them.
But you know
even when they have moderate symptoms or sometimes no symptoms when they have the flu and can quarantine them. And that obviously would lead to a giant reduction of the number of people that had the flu. In 1918, entire cities got the flu at once. They had to open up like fucking gymnasiums and parish halls and state armories to house patients. They didn't have nearly enough warning that the pandemic was happening. There was no digitalization of medical records. So the contact tracing was non-existent. There were no antivirals. You couldn't treat for a virus because we didn't know really about viruses. We couldn't see them through a microscope until the 1930s.
Antivirals don't work on COVID-19.
Antivirals don't work on COVID-19.
That's correct. They don't work on...
Antivirals aren't a treatment for COVID-19 is what you're saying.
That's right.
The most popular treatment is remdesivir.
No, the most popular treatment for COVID-19 is putting a person on their belly.
Yeah, the most prescribed medicine for COVID-19 is an antiviral medicine.
And does it work?
Obviously, or they wouldn't just be prescribed.
It does work. And did we have and were we prescribing that at the beginning of the pandemic?
Were we prescribing antivirals at the beginning of the pandemic? Yes.
Okay, gotcha. So just to be clear, your position is that we're more effective at combating COVID-19 than we are at the 1918 flu because of antivirals.
If you only heard the last sentence I said.
Well, no, I want to be clear. I don't want to
You-
say things that you're not saying. So
I'm saying
if you
we
could be
know what
more
viruses
concise,
are
if you
now.
could be more concise
In
before I give my
1918,
opening statement, I just want to make sure I understand.
concisely, in 1918, we couldn't test for a virus. We had to surmise that someone had a virus by them exhibiting very, very severe symptoms of a virus, right?
Mhm.
So we couldn't have moderate people who had moderate symptoms tested so that they couldn't spread the virus. How about people who don't show very many symptoms at all? We didn't know. Those people were fine. This, being able to test for a virus, has helped us dramatically in curbing the virus.
Prove it.
Prove it.
Yeah.
Do you think that people
No. Prove it.
prove what?
Prove that contact tracing has helped us combat this virus.
No, I'm sorry, not contact tracing. Testing. We couldn't test for a virus.
Prove that
Prove
testing
that
has helped us
testing
combat
has
this virus.
helped us combat the virus.
hmm Since with the 1918 flu, you showed symptoms almost right away. So tell me
With the
again.
1918
Tell me
flu,
again how the testing. Show me
you
how the
didn't know.
testing has combated the current pandemic, because I want to know, how has the testing combated the current pandemic and kept the numbers lower?
More people. How has more people being tested and quarantined stopped the spread of the virus? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
How
I
has
want you to prove it. Prove it.
you see you're making a stupid, disingenuous argument, right?
No,
You're
I'm making
saying,
a very
how has being
very
able to
genuine
test
argument.
for a virus stopped
Well,
the curve?
here, I'll give my opening statement then. Maybe
Sure,
that'll give
please.
you some meat that you can fight against, because
Yeah.
your
Oh my
opening
God.
statement was terrible.
Jesus.
Okay, the scientific consensus told us at the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic not to take ibuprofen at all. That was the consensus. They also said not to take hydroxychloroquine, and that has been proven now to be a prophylactic, and it's prescribed everywhere as a prophylactic. Ibuprofen was told to us by the scientific community not to take because it would create a problem with a potential immunoresponse. That was what they said about ibuprofen. That has been proven absolutely to be false. The modern technology, essentially for COVID-19, from the doctor to the patient, is lots of bed rest, and that's about it. There's not a whole lot that they can do for you except change your position for breathing. Respirators led to many deaths during the current pandemic, and the medical community absolutely demanded them. We now have high-tech solutions that take the place of the respirators, and the high-tech solutions are lay on your stomach. That's the high-tech solution for helping you beat the coronavirus. We do have the vaccine now, and they didn't have one in 1918. That's true, but the time frame for both of the pandemics is about the same. In the 1918 flu, some people say it lasted about a year. Some people say it lasted up to 2. It depends on which source you want to use. Some people argue that, and I've sourced all of this, by the way, that the last 6 months of what they considered the pandemic, it was already beaten. We can see right now in the current record that the vaccine was distributed. That's true, but the cases were already falling as far as the death rate went. The economic sanctions that we put down as far as COVID-19 went arguably killed untold amounts of people that aren't related to actual COVID-19 deaths. We didn't have any of that in 1918. We were not quarantining people who weren't sick. We're only doing that now. The other thing is that the people who are most affected by the coronavirus are the infirm, mostly obese, and people who have heavy diabetes or are very old. And scientism brought us all of our nice food charts that told us exactly how to get fat and get diabetes so that a virus like this would affect us worse. They did. Yeah, the food charts did. And the food charts now have been revised how many times? And modern Americans live on a diet that is absolutely awful for them, many times recommended by the scientific community. So where we're at, once again, is you have not proven your case at all.
Yeah,
you have not
proven that it
okay. I don't need to prove it, because this was your assertion.
Yeah, actually, I asserted that you were wrong in your assertion.
Yeah, so prove it. So prove that the antivirals have actually done a damn thing to combat actual COVID-19, because the science doesn't say that they have.
The science definitely says that they have.
Not,
They
and I've
prescribed
submitted it
them.
to
They
the
prescribed
record.
steroids that they didn't have at the time. They prescribed Risdovir that they didn't have at the time. Monoclonal antibodies weren't invented until the 70s. They used those to combat COVID-19. They do contact tracing.
What the most heavily prescribed prescription for COVID-19 is bed rest in nursing, and the most common prescribed cure for the 1918 pandemic, for the flu, was bed rest in nursing. Same thing. Same. Exactly the same.
That's a stupid argument.
Why?
Because
it's true.
So when people exhibit a lot of symptoms of the disease, do they say bed rest, just go to bed, or do they prescribe the medicine? I'm wondering where you're getting your facts.
Absolutely.
Can you qualify and post all of these?
They've all been submitted, and it'll be fact checked. But again, let me ask you a question. If I make a call right this second and tell the hospital that, hey, I'm COVID-19 positive and I'm having a little bit of difficulty breathing, will they tell me to come in so that they can treat me, or will they tell me to get some bed rest? You tell me.
They're going to ask you what your symptoms are. They're going to ask you what your
fever is.
They're going to ask you how long you've been COVID-19. They're going to ask you if you had any, like, have you been to the hospital before? Who have you been around? Are people in your house exhibiting symptoms?
Yep.
They're going to ask you all those things. And if you have really bad symptoms, if you have 106 fever, they're going to tell you, come up to the hospital, and they're going to prescribe you what's called medicine. And this medicine, a lot of it was developed after 1918. So antibiotics, if you have some sort of bacterial infection caused by the weakened immune system, they're also going to test you for the virus so that they know you have it. We can do that now. We couldn't do that in 1918, but we can definitely test for the virus now. So you could just be feeling bad, and they'll give you a test, and then you will know what you have.
Isn't that incredible? Like, you couldn't.
It is. Oh my God!
You couldn't tell a person was sick in 1918.
You couldn't tell what they had.
You claim that whole towns came down with it, but again, we need to do massive contact tracing. Let me ask you another question. If remdesivir is something that's effective at combating COVID-19, why did we need a vaccine?
Are you saying we don't need a vaccine because we should just roll out the treatment for the? Does
it? Well, yeah, if you're arguing how effective remdesivir is in combating COVID-19, then explain to me why we need a vaccine to begin with.
So that people won't catch COVID-19 and have to be treated for it?
So
it's not a very hard argument to make. Would you rather treat kids for polio, or would you rather get polio the fuck out of existence?
Fine. Give people the vaccine for polio. But one more time, if all of these treatments that you claim work so well, as far as modern medicine goes, like an antiviral, why is it that you need to have a rush for a vaccine to begin with? Because
you need antivirals.
There's no source that you can provide that says remdesivir stops COVID-19 in patients who get COVID-19. None.
You can say that it works well to have them recover faster from COVID-19.
Okay, recover faster.
94% of people who take that recover faster from COVID-19. It helps treat the symptoms of COVID-19.
Okay, so
treating symptoms. Right, you're treating symptoms of a virus. So
how is that combating the virus exactly?
How is treating the symptoms of a virus that is spread by coughing?
And
sneezing. Combating the spread of a virus.
How is it combating it better than 1918, where they did the same thing, made you stay home? They said stay home and gave you chicken soup. How's that any different?
How is antivirals any different than chicken soup? We don't treat people
saying that antiviral is only there to treat the symptoms. If it's only there to treat the symptoms, how is it a more effective treatment than just allowing a person to stay at home with chicken soup?
Do you think that someone who has bad and severe COVID can stay at home with chicken soup without treatment and survive? Some people die from COVID.
Yes, I do think that they can. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, we treat people who have severe symptoms, and because their symptoms are fewer and lessen and aren't as severe, they survive COVID.
Unless they intubate them, and then that killed them. Remember that? How they intubated them, or they wouldn't give
Did they
people
intubate one person and kill him? And now you
No,
think that
no,
all
no.
intubation is bad? I don't
Thousands
understand.
of people they intubated and they died from it. But they also said that people couldn't take ibuprofen at the outset, which would have maybe severely reduced the symptoms, and that killed a lot of people.
Okay, so
Yeah,
you're saying that the
so-
ominous they told us not to take ibuprofen, but they also have antivirals and they have antibiotics and they have COVID tests that
Yeah,
help.
that's true, but you have not proven that those things have been especially effective in combating the actual pandemic. Only as treatment for people who are symptomatic, but you can't even prove that it saved a single life to give somebody remdesivir.
I can't prove that it saves a single life.
Yes.
That's like saying you can't prove that God doesn't exist.
No, because I can prove that if you don't get a new
medicine and they got better.
I can prove if you don't get a new heart that you died because of your old heart.
Oh my God.
You can't prove that remdesivir at all has done anything to save a single life who from a person who's been infected with COVID-19. Not a single person.
I can say that scientifically we've studied and seen that in taking this drug, people did get better. I can definitely say that. And I can also say to anyone who's watching this to look at the disingenuous argument that this man is making. You really have to understand like where you have to be to make the argument that medical science in the past 100 years hasn't gotten any better.
I didn't say that.
Or saying that testing for COVID hasn't gotten any better at fighting the pandemic.
I didn't say that either. I said that we're no better.
Antivirals haven't stopped the spread at all. Just treating symptoms.
No, it has.
Symptoms are coughing and sneezing doesn't stop the spread when you spread it by coughing and sneezing, right? So treating those symptoms, it wouldn't do anything.
That's treatment.
You're being super disingenuous. You're making an argument that is ridiculous, really.
The people who are treated for COVID-19, it doesn't stop their symptoms of coughing and sneezing, sir. It hardly even lessens it. The point of the argument here is if we're better at combating the current coronavirus than we were at combating the 1918 flu. And my position is that overall, no, we're not. We're not any better at it at all.
Yeah,
not even a little bit.
Is that testing has no bearing on if we're better at combating it.
Well,
your position is that
the entire first round of tests that went out were ineffective. And there's still controversy to this day as to how effective the testing was, even leading up 10 months into the pandemic. And the pandemic's almost over. It's almost over. They're saying by April it'll be done. Okay, so, it was not an overly lethal virus like the 1918 pandemic was. I don't believe for a second that the testing was a good metric to tell who was sick and who was not. There was a lot of false positives out there, and there's a lot of data on that as well.
Maybe from OAN, I'll have to go.
No, really, not from OAN.
I'll have to go to 4chan or wherever
the WHO has pointed out that all of the Chinese testing kits that were sent to us were faulty.
Okay, so all of the Chinese testing kits that were sent to us were faulty. Every single one.
You can't trust any of them. You can't.
So we're gonna have to fact check that. Every single test from China is faulty.
That's what they claimed, is that they could not be trusted.
And you're probably one of those people who say masks don't work, right?
Yeah, I don't think that a piece of cloth around your face works. Piece of cloth around your face doesn't do stop a virus. No,
doesn't work at all.
No, a piece of cloth around your face doesn't work to stop a virus. No.
Cool. All right. So we have scientific data that backs up all of these things.
No, we also have scientific data that's contrary to that says that wearing a mask is virtually ineffective also. But you only pick and choose the science that you want to pick and choose to make your point, because the pandemic was good for communists. It was not good for us.
It wasn't good for capitalists? I'm pretty sure it was very good for capitalists.
No, it was only good for communists, because what you did was you shut down every small business in the country and only allowed the supreme businesses to take the money. And then you pointed at it and said, see, this is what happens in capitalism. So yeah, it was good. It was good for
most small businesses were being closed, and they haven't been being closed at a more and more rate before COVID. It just is a phenomenon from COVID that small businesses are being shut down. That's what you're asserting there?
Of course.
Of course. Okay.
Are you saying that small businesses were shutting down at some kind of extreme rate pre-COVID?
I'm saying that in the history of America, small businesses have been shutting down pretty gradually, constantly. Saying that.
Well, then how is it that small businesses are the largest employer in the United States, sir?
Pretty sure Walmart's the largest employer.
No, it's not. Small businesses are the largest employer, the largest.
As a whole, small businesses are the largest employer. Maybe like internet businesses and shit.
That's right.
What I'm saying is, there's been a accumulation of wealth and a monopolization of market ever since there was business in the United States.
Yeah. So
you're saying that you're contributing that to COVID and saying that that's good for the communists somehow in some sort of
it's good for communists that the small businesses were shut down, so you can point to it as being a failure of capitalism, even though capitalism demanded that the businesses stay open and let the chips fall where they may. When you have a pandemic where you have a decimal point of the population who dies from it.
Got it. So you would rather sacrifice people's lives to save capitalism and save the way capitalism looks than shut down any kind of business to stop the spread of a pandemic that might cost people lives.
You would cause untold amounts of deaths during a proletariat revolution. What's your point?
So no one says the proletarian revolution has to be violent.
But they all have been. But they all have been, though. So there's that.
Yeah. When you point to,
just saying.
Valid criticism of communism, then you can get back at me.
Yeah,
when you realize what communism is, maybe just like read a few definitions. Literally, just type it into Google and start reading. I mean, it'll be enlightening.
Just so you know, when you play this back, right, your positions have not been very easily defended at all. And I'm going to tell you this too. On top of all of that, saying to me, do I think that it's a good idea to shut down the livelihoods of literally hundreds of millions of people in order to combat a pandemic that's going to take a decimal point of lives? My answer is unequivocally yes, because the amount of damage that will be done to people in the long run.
Because of capitalism.
No, not because of
capitalism. They have to exist in capitalism.
But because you shut down capitalism. You shut capitalism down. Capitalism doesn't say shut down during pandemic. That's not the capitalist creed.
Capitalists did that, though. You can't blame communists to do that. There's no communists in charge. No communists are in charge of the United States.
Okay. Area, hold on, you guys.
Communists demanded the shutdowns. It's only liberal cities and liberal states that demanded these shutdowns. The conservative states did not. And you look at the results in Florida, which is a conservative state that did not shut down, and they are in no way worse than California, which has shut down multiple times. It's indefensible. It's indefensible. Communists wanted to shut down the free market, not capitalists, and it's not a failure of capitalism. Communists could not have distributed the goods any better than capitalists could have during a pandemic. And if you have any place in the planet you can point to where you can make that case, go ahead and do so, other than in my pure ideological fantasy, they could.
Let's start from the beginning. Liberals, communists don't like liberals. You equate liberals with communists. This is not the case.
Progressives.
This is not the case. Even progressives are capitalists.
Progressives. They are progressives.
Yeah, they're capitalists. They're not communists.
They're progressives.
So, again, you don't know what communism is. You use it as a boogeyman, right? Number two, any country with universal health care, I mean, by and large, has fared better than the United States when it comes to per capita infection rate and death rate. So your capitalist utopia, it failed when it had to care for the people that did all of the work.
In overall cases or in per capita cases?
I said per capita.
Oh, per capita. So every single country that has socialized medicine. For the most part.
Oh, now it's for the most part.
It's a nice qualifier. It's a nice qualifier to put
for the most part. But yes, the majority of those countries. Like we pay the most for healthcare, and yes, people got fired and they depend on their jobs for healthcare.
So per capita in
Cuba lost their jobs.
What about per capita in Cuba?
In Cuba, with the
Coronavirus. Yeah. They have socialized medicine in Cuba. Do you think that they had less cases per capita or more?
Less deaths per capita?
No, less
Okay,
cases per capita.
I'm not sure. I know that none of them actually had to pay for treatment. No one's getting
Oh,
stuck
right.
with
But your statement was that every single.
I did not say every single. You can roll it back.
No, you qualified it later, but you started.
No, I didn't.
And you can see that you did start with that and then qualified it.
I said the majority of them.
Okay, now it's the majority of them. Okay, so it's not a failure of capitalism again if it's just the majority of them, then is it? We also have massive demographics, huge land mass, and 330 million people. Can you point to an other socialist nation that has that, sir? No.
I can't point to a socialist nation. I can point to some state.
Okay, so everything's a mixed economy anyway. So you can't say countries with socialized medicine who have
it was universal healthcare.
Okay, universal healthcare, but then you qualified it with most.
Yeah, most countries with universal healthcare.
Okay, so most countries that have
because not all countries with universal healthcare have the same resources.
So do most of those countries with universal healthcare then have the same demographics, land mass, and population as the United States?
Some of them have a larger land mass than the United States.
Which ones?
Do you don't think China has a larger land mass than the United States?
I think that their version of socialized medicine is not what you were referring to. You were referring to Nordic country socialized medicine.
So you're going to qualify what I was meaning by universal healthcare because they have universal healthcare.
Let's take China.
What I said,
let's take China. You're fine. Let's take China. Is China racially have the same demographics as the United States or anywhere even close to it?
I said landmass, but why does why should we separate regarding race with treatment on COVID? Is that what you're saying? Why do the demographics and the diversity of the people matter?
In China, you say that they have lower cases, but didn't they put the boot to their people in order to have lower cases?
I'm just saying they have lower cases because they have.
And can we believe what China? And can we believe what China says in regard to their cases? Do we just take what they say at face value, even though they lied about the pandemic at the beginning?
I mean, with that rationale, we can't believe what anyone says about.
I agree to an extent that that's true.
I'm not agreeing. I'm saying that's your rationale.
But with China specifically, they lied to the World Health Organization. They lied to them. Is that not an undisputed fact?
I think the government of China lied to the
right. So we can't take their numbers. We can't take their numbers at face value, and we certainly can't say that because they have socialized medicine that they have a lower caseload at all, because we can't even believe their numbers. So why don't you point at the countries with the socialized medicine that have the same demographics and land mass that we do, that actually have a lower caseload than we do? I'll wait.
You can't point at any country that has the same land mass and demographics that we do at all.
Right. That's my point.
What you're saying is these qualifiers should be the variables, but they really don't matter as much as.
They do matter. Because it was left up to each individual state. So you have to take each individual state as its own country, and then you have to do the per capita basis that way. That's the only way you can come up with accurate data, scientifically speaking.
Right. Every single state, none of them have universal health care. So we can say that as a whole,
many states
product of our capitalist healthcare system.
And many states have lower caseloads than other nations that have socialized medicine and are actually larger in land mass
and less populated, right?
Yes.
Like Wyoming.
No. Some of them are just as populated and still have less caseload per capita than many of those nations that you speak to.
Prove it.
I can prove it, and I've already submitted it.
Well, you guys, we're going to probably wrap these debate up and move on to the panel portion and the Q&A. So I don't know if you guys want to give your closing statements, and then we can move on to the Q&A.
I'll give a closing, if it's okay with you. I'll give a closing statement on communism, as that was my topic, and let you give a closing statement first on the pandemic, as that was yours. Does that sound fair to you?
Sounds good.
Okay. So my closing statement on communism is that essentially what's happened here in this debate is that my opponent, like I said in my introduction, would pivot away and say that every single country that has implemented Marxism and communism is not real communism, and that one day when his real communism is achieved, that's when unicorns and rainbows and leprechauns will dance in the street. But nothing has actually been real communism up to this point, except for all the examples of actual communism that we can point to that was based on Marxism. I feel I won that part handily, and that when it's fact checked, it'll come to fruition that I did, and I'll hand it over to my opponent so that he can rebut that.
All right, it's pretty straightforward. You said that communism is a wretched form of government. Communism is based on the idea of common ownership and the absence of social classes, money, and the state. It's not a government. It's an ideology. It's you have a very clear misunderstanding of what the word means. I mean, and then you disingenuously try to apply it blanketly to anyone who claims to be a communist. So I'm sure it's an argument that you expected, because it's an argument that I said on the forum, do you even know what communism is? And it's an argument you've probably countered before because you refuse to learn what communism is. And a better argument for you is to try to just apply it to anyone who says they're a communist.
Okay.
And I'll let you go ahead and close on the pandemic.
My statement on the pandemic was that when Andrew said that modern medicine is not more effective at combating COVID-19 than medicine was at combating the Spanish flu, he was wrong. I think I've definitely proved that because we can now test for viruses. We know what viruses are. We can map the genome. We have mRNA vaccines, none of which existed in 1918. We can treat the virus so that curbs the spread of the virus, and we couldn't do that in 1918. My opponent doesn't believe that masks make any difference. It's obvious that when debating me, he's coming from a position of ignorance in both topics, and just kind of holding on to his ignorance and not really trying to learn.
Okay.
Was that the end of your closing statement on that?
Yeah, it didn't need much.
Okay. So my closing statement on the pandemic is that I was able to adequately make my opponent say with 100% certitude that he could not prove that any modern medical advancement has done anything to more effectively combat COVID-19 than anything we had in 1918 to combat the Spanish flu. He said it over and over again. In fact, he's great at listing all kinds of modern medical achievements, but not so good at showing where the application of them actually helped to stop this pandemic versus the technology in 1918, which was essentially the same. Quarantine, here's chicken soup. We hope you make it.
All right. So we have a question for Left of Liberal. This is from Rachie Mama, and she says, how do we implement communism without government force? What do you do with people who refuse to comply?
You don't implement communism in one fell swoop. Communism is implemented in changing the way a society views property and changing the mode of production in which enriches everyone's lives and provides resources for everyone's needs. So it's not there's no implementation of communism that you can really point to that's like a stamp. You don't go from where we are right now to communism. People who are communists know this, you know.
Okay. And now from Eric Pone, the question I have is comparing pure capitalism to pure communism, which would have the higher death count? And I guess that could be probably to both of you. So Andrew, if you want to go first.
How the hell would he know? He doesn't believe we've ever had communism. And he doesn't know what pure communism would even look like according to his own definitions of it.
Okay, so
Cool. So I'll actually answer the question. Pure capitalism really hinges upon having to exploit the worker. You have to extract surplus value from the worker. And in capitalism, you have to have people who are desperate and will work for low wages. So you're going to have poverty in capitalism, in pure capitalism. In pure communism, which is a stateless society where literally all of the resources are publicly owned, you might have death, but it wouldn't be from communism. It wouldn't be because of poverty, because you wouldn't have poverty. It wouldn't be because, it would be because someone probably got sick. In capitalism, the market decides what we invest money on. We'd rather spend money on boner pills than curing cancer. We put all of our money into like arms and bombs instead of feeding the poor. So there's really just different ideas of where we should focus our resources on. Communism says we should focus on the greater good of the people, and capitalism says the market and the rich people should decide what really happens.
Yeah, but it's all theoretical from your standpoint. You can't actually adequately answer the question because you can't point to any examples of it ever actually having happened. Yes.
Can you point to any examples of pure capitalism?
That wasn't the question.
Oh, I'm asking you because the question was pure communism versus pure capitalism.
No, but you said as a qualifier that communism, as far as what you consider it, has never been implemented. So why would you ever dare to answer how it would compete against capitalism if it's never been implemented? That makes no sense.
You just said that pure capitalism has never been implemented either. So communism is an ideology.
Okay, that's true, but I also didn't speak an answer to the question because it's an unknown, and you did.
Yeah, I did. And based on the two
and you don't know. You have no
tell,
idea by your own definition, which is
I know the definitions of both of those ideologies. I've studied capitalism and communism. That's why.
But you're speculating. You are
speculating. I know what
communism
is, and I know the definition of communism, and I know the definition.
But you are speculating because you can't point to an example, right?
I can point to an example of the failures of capitalism.
Oh, sure. But not pure capitalism by your own admission.
No. Definitely not pure capitalism.
Okay, well then everything you just told that man was pure speculation. Everything you just told him was pure unadulterated speculation by your own admission.
I definitely didn't give him real-time examples of pure capitalism or pure communism.
No, but you did tell him what would happen.
Yeah,
what would happen? You said this is what will happen.
Theoretical questions.
All right, let's get to some more questions. So from Warren Gilman, question is for both Andrew and LOL. What are the consequences of disruption of goods in a capitalist system versus a communist system? So I don't know who wants to go first.
So I'll field it first.
Okay.
Using examples from what we can see from a capitalist versus a communist system. If there's a shortage or disruption of goods in a capitalist system, people rush to fill whatever that void is because they want to make a profit. Under a communist system, they wither and die horribly. At least that's what we've seen historically.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so when you can't buy toilet paper at Kroger's because they don't have enough for anyone and everyone's making a run on the stores,
that's quite the consequence.
That's what you see as a disruption of capitalism, right? So people who like really hoard things and stuff like that, there's a consequence to that of others not being able to get goods. But another consequence of the disruption of goods and resources in capitalism is bread lines. You have giant long bread lines in multiple cities, giant cities throughout the United States, because people lose their jobs because we can't distribute the goods correctly. We can't distribute the goods efficiently. The jobs didn't come. Now we don't have health insurance. No one can afford their houses. They have to pay rent. They can't afford food. People are making runs on stores. Even if they could afford food, there's not much left. So all of the scary boogeyman McCarthyism, things about communism that they say are like literally realities inside of capitalism. And we can point to those consequences.
Warren, that argument is so ridiculous, okay? Because from his perspective, it's all theoretical, right? the strangulation on goods in communist countries that I can point to have been absurdly high, to the point where they've killed people. And his only example he can give you is toilet paper. Oh, well, I mean, there might be a supply disruption of toilet paper. I mean, what a awful thing. And then all those evil capitalists are going to rush to make more toilet paper so that you buy more toilet paper and they can make a profit. There was the massive toilet paper shortage caused by capitalism is nothing compared to the millions of deaths caused under the failure of communism to distribute any type of reasonable goods to its people in real times of famine. So yeah, I'll take not being able to wipe my ass when there's a run on toilet paper over starving to death any day.
And you're also talking about 2021 versus like 1930s and 1940s. And you're talking about famine versus.
No, there's more prominent examples that are more current
of goods, and the way that socialism would distribute goods. Did people lose their jobs in the Scandinavian countries where they actually have safety nets and it's not just unregulated capitalism? Did people lose their health insurances? Were people in breadlines in these socialist countries? No.
Nobody lost their health insurance here. They went on Medicaid. If they were unemployed, they went on Medicaid.
No. That's not the way Medicaid works.
Yes, that's what happened. Yes, it's exactly how it works.
Okay,
if you don't reach an income threshold, you go on Medicaid.
Yeah, if you don't reach an income threshold, you go on Medicaid. If I have a job.
So if you're unemployed, what's your income threshold, sir?
If I have a job and I have insurance through my company, and my wife has a job and she has insurance through her company, and she loses her job and we make too much money to get on Medicaid, do you think that she gets on Medicaid?
That wasn't your example. Your example was to say, do you think that the people who lost their jobs lost their health care? If your wife lost her job, she can go on your insurance. But if you both lost your job, you could go on Medicaid.
So she can go on my insurance if I pay for it. If I can't pay for that, if I can't afford that, if doing that would make, like, say, throw me out of my house and I can't afford rent, then she would lose her.
And how much are you paying in those Scandinavian countries for healthcare?
You're paying about 25% taxes.
Okay, you're paying about
just taxes for everything. Way more
your wage. Just in that. So you're saying there that you couldn't afford to put her on your health insurance here, where it's far less than 25% of your income. I don't give a shit what kind of insurance.
It's far less than any other recognized country in the world. So if that's your argument that health insurance and healthcare is cheap here, you're barking up the wrong tree, guy. Health insurance is
my argument. My argument was that you were being totally and completely disingenuous and saying that the people who lost their job were ineligible for Medicare when they were eligible for Medicare. One. And two, that you couldn't put your wife on your insurance if she lost her job, which would be considered a change in circumstance, even though your insurance has to be cheaper than what you'd find in a Scandinavian country. Has to be.
First of all, it's not cheaper than what you'd find in a Scandinavian country at all. It doesn't have to be.
There's no insurance that costs you 25% of your paycheck.
You misunderstand. 25% of Scandinavian taxes, let's say in Denmark, right? If I say 25%, I'm talking about the entire tax, not just for their health insurance, but for everything that they pay in taxes. So that's health insurance is inside of that. What we pay in our taxes is what? War, imperialism, I guess.
No, it's not for war. It's for social programs. Most of our tax burden is
mostly the military, right?
No, it's not. Most of our taxation is in social programs, not in the military.
Right. Okay. So
an overwhelming amount,
welfare,
by the way.
Social Security, and then our discretionary spending is massively towards what?
Healthcare again.
Our discretionary spending.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. There's a lot of military spending with discretionary spending.
Right.
So who cares? It's already cut into the pie how much is going to come out for social spending.
Right. So
who cares?
Money, we spend more than
the overwhelming majority of the pie already goes to social spending. Of course, the discretionary spending is going to go towards the military and other operations like that. Why wouldn't it?
Why would we spend 10 times more than any other country on our military? I don't think it's of course we would.
Because I thought that Russia was bad and you wanted to have the United States be the policeman of the world. You don't want that?
You think socialists want the United States to be the policeman of the world?
Oh, I agree. So let's cut military spending, but that doesn't mean you need to apply it to social programs where we already spend a massive amount, the most amount of our money on right this second. Right this second, we spend the most amount of money on it.
If you call Social Security a social program, yeah, for sure.
That is a
Right.
social program. It's called
definitely.
Social
It's
Security.
definitely- yeah, it is, and it's prolonged the life of elderly people since its inception. And
But wait, I thought if I wanted to call it a social program, now you're going to
a
call
lot
it.
of people don't. You know, a lot of people in your, I guess, forum would call it an entitlement.
It's a social program, and that social program, there's a lot of money that's spent on it. There's a lot of money that's spent on Medicaid. There's a lot of money that's spent on Medicare. There's a lot of money that's spent on entitlements. The most amount of money is spent on entitlements. Communists often try to do this bullshit where they come on and say, hey, we spend all this money on the military. And then I have to always factually correct them and let them know, no, we spend it on entitlements. And they almost always concede because they know that already. They just want to push the narrative that it's all military spending when it's not. It's all entitlement spending.
Our discretionary spending is military spending. If you call it entitlement spending, sure, but it's keeping our elderly people alive.
That's
in
what it's
lieu
called.
of having socialized healthcare where
Fine.
you
Call
would
it
have
social spending.
less of a cost. Right now, we spend more than any other westernized country on healthcare, and we rank what 35th, 32nd in health. It's absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, we could take all the spending for all the social programs.
I don't believe that it's factual that we're in the 30s when it comes to healthcare. I don't believe you. I think you lied.
Yeah, you might look that up then.
It's going to be looked up.
Yeah, I believe we are pretty low on the list. But okay, so let's get to some more questions from Crazy Hole. Question for Andrew: when Christ returns and we don't have to worry about money, will you be okay with communism?
I want to say yes, but no, probably even still then. That might be the one thing when I'm on my knees in front of the Lord where I say, can we just put them all against the wall just real quick? Come on, God, just this one time. Look the other way.
All commies get the rope, baby.
Oh, yeah, they all get the rope. They all get the rope.
Anyways, all right, so question for LOL from Rachie Mama. How does he explain worldwide spread and mortality and global economic devastation for COVID if science is so good at combating the virus?
How do you explain global widespread mortality if science is so good at combating the virus? So science is good at combating the virus so that you can see that in every other country but America, right? And you can really kind of see that in America too. But what you're asking is like, oh, why did I die? I had my seatbelt on. You know, you're not looking at what science did for COVID. You're not saying, oh, well, we're actually be able to test people and we know that people have COVID and we can treat their symptoms and shit. How do you explain a pandemic if we're so good at combating a pandemic? I mean, it's kind of a dumb question.
Okay, so question for LOL from Nathan. Do you think the labor theory of value is still applicable in the modern era of financialization and corporate feudalism?
Oof, that's a good question. I mean, for sure, the labor.
By the way,
Yeah, you guys probably have very similar beliefs.
he's another communist. His effigy was of Lenin, who was yet another. It was yet another racist, just like your effigy was. But anyway,
right, let him answer.
Just like you. So basically, the labor theory of value definitely still applies in a lot of situations. Extracting surplus labor for profit and exploiting workers is just the main tenet of how capitalists make their money. You know, you got Jeff Bezos owning Amazon and giving like $23 million to a cause, and everybody giving him a giant fucking party, but then he is denying healthcare to his workers and smashing unions and shit like that. So the labor theory of values it definitely kind of still applies for sure.
Okay, so question for LOL. What if I don't want to do communism? Who makes me?
Yeah. So if you if you were educated in a place outside of the United States, you would see that what the United States calls leftism isn't left. Like Brittany isn't a leftist. Brittany is a capitalist. You know, she said she would vote for you said what, you were for Warren in the 2016
Yeah,
primary?
I'm a Pete fan, and then Warren was my number 2.
Pete was all about capitalism, right? So
Right.
we have to understand that, you know, when we're talking about leftism, we're not really talking about the left. The way that the Overton window of the United States is, people are basically brainwashed to believe that capitalism is all there is. It's the way that things work. It's the fairest thing, and there's no other exception to the rule. So really, it starts with telling people the truth.
Okay. So for Andrew from Eric, what is Jesus' view on how to deal with poor? Is it more capitalist or more communist?
It's neither. So it's a good question. The thing is that Jesus was big on individuals taking care of other individuals. He didn't advocate for any type of governance at all, and he was apolitical.
Okay.
So I think it doesn't really matter if you're a capitalist or a communist. The dispensement of charity is what his viewpoint was.
Okay. Question for LOL. How do you feel about Andrew's assertion that you hold to a Marxist ideology because you can't compete in the natural hierarchy? You still there?
Oh, sorry, I had my mic muted.
Hmm.
We live on a planet with limited resources, and we're burning through the resources at an alarming rate. Capitalism dictates overproduction. We overproduce, always have stuff on the shelves. We have to overproduce everything, and we can't overproduce because we don't have unlimited resources, right? We're not allocating our resources efficiently. We have people who don't have houses, and then we have way more empty houses than there are people who are homeless. We have people starving, but we throw away food, and there's cops next to the dumpster, so you don't try to go in there and get it. Like, we're not getting resources. Okay. This guy said that it's only dweebs that get together and they call themselves proletarians and blah, 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 blah.
That's right. That's what I said. I stand by it.
Fascists are like
big Papa fascist balls are as big as the Death Star, just so you know. But anyway, go ahead. That's why you're hiding behind a mic, and I'm right here with my handsome face and big blue eyes, son.
Right. Yeah. So you're an open fascist, and you can live as an open fascist.
Right here,
you can openly be fascist.
You gonna come pick up my house? You want the address?
I would love to have some sort of boxing match. You know what I'm saying? That would be great. I would
lose.
actually show my face.
You would lose. I'm boxing's my thing, but
I love boxing. So
I will tell you right now, I will agree to a boxing match with Left of Liberal anywhere he is in whatever state. I will pay the fare to come out to him to beat the shit out of him. Does that sound fair to you?
And politically provoked, we'll fucking live stream it. Politically provoked, we'll live stream it.
That sounds perfect.
I box 3 nights a week, but if you want to do it, let's do it.
Yeah, I would love to. What weight class?
We'll see if you actually do it. I'll take you up on the bet. If you want to go to an actual ring and box, I will enjoy that immensely.
How much do you weigh?
I weigh 190 pounds.
Oof.
Okay, so Nathan says, if seatbelts are so good, why do people still die in car crashes? I'm not sure if that was a serious question or not, but
nothing Nathan poses is a serious question. Some of Nathan's questions are serious questions. I take that back.
Yeah. Okay. So, from Warren, question for LOL: in your progression towards communism, at what point will people be okay with giving up private ownership of property?
I think there's a big discrepancy or misunderstanding between the definition of private property and public and personal property, right? So, like, communists aren't coming for your toothbrush, consumer goods, stuff like that is personal property. Private property in the Marxist definition is something that you would use to make profit off of. It's something that others would use to make a profit that you would own because you own that property, right? So it's like a rental house or something like that would be a private property, not the house you own or live in, because that's your personal property.
Okay, so here's one from my dad to both of you guys. How would you explain the improved lifespan from 46 100 years ago to around 75 today. I'm not sure what he means.
So I'll field it. I'll field it first, if that's okay.
Okay.
Left of
Yeah,
liberal.
that's fine. Go ahead.
Okay. So one, I never made the case that medical science hasn't advanced ever. Not even one time. Only that we're no more effective at combating the coronavirus than we were at combating the 1918 pandemic. To your point, one of the major reasons is because of averages, and infant mortality was much higher 100 years ago than it is now. Even things like hearth death, which is a woman's dress igniting because she was putting a log in the fire and dying, are at astronomical rates in comparison to what they are now. And some of that has to do with absolutely with medical science, but more importantly, it has to do with how people take care of themselves and that type of thing. But if you looked at it from an average perspective, most of it had to do with infant mortality.
Okay. Did you want to address it, Left of Liberal?
For sure. So 100 years ago, let's say, we didn't have, there was not access to universal or healthcare at any age. The lack of universal healthcare in the United States undoubtedly increases mortality rate and reduces life expectancy. In people over the age of 65, the people who actually get on Medicare, and the people who are under the age where they're still covered, these statistics show that access to healthcare is what dictates you having a longer life.
Okay, so from Eric, this is for both of you guys. What is the advantage of neoliberalism versus liberalism? Maybe if you want to address that one first, LOL.
There's no advantage to liberalism. Liberalism is horrible. And neoliberalism is even worse.
Can you actually, I want to expand on that. Could you maybe tell us how you define each of those? Like, what's your definition of it?
Liberalism is a capitalist ideology. Okay. Liberalism is not. Liberalism and neoliberalism is about the status quo. Right now, you see Biden. He's a neoliberal. He's a piece of shit. He campaigns on all of this populist message, and then when it comes to it, he doesn't want to, upset the plutocracy. He still wants to have his backers, and he wants to have the funds to have campaign. Those people, all they really want to do is dupe you. They're not openly fascist like this guy or some of the other politicians out there, and they want to prey on like identity politics and stuff like that to get your vote. But in reality, they're still capitalists, and they're no different, and they're a tiny bit better, but they're not good people. There's no advantage to being neoliberal or liberal at all.
Okay. Okay. So so there's no advantage. So did you want to address this, Andrew, or should we move on to the next question?
Sure. So to me, it's all a mark of progressivism. And as a staunch conservative, my job is to hold on to the shattered remnants of what culture we have left. I don't like liberalism, and I don't like neoliberalism. Now, I like classic liberalism, but I don't think that that's what you were trying to define there.
Okay, next question is from Rachel. She wants to know your weight and height for the boxing match.
I'm 6 foot, 190 pounds.
Not you. She said, it is for both of you.
I'm 6 foot 205. It should be really, really nice.
Okay. God. Anyways, so
I don't believe him. I think he's lying. But show yourself then.
I would love to come on camera.
I didn't think so. I don't think
try. No, of course not.
I don't think he's 205. I bet you this guy's 5'6", and I bet you that even though I said I would pay for all of this, we'll never be able to get it organized because he'll chicken shit out.
Cool. So let's just look at that statement there. I bet you this guy's 5'6". If I was 5'6", I'm 6 foot. But if I was 5'6", is this?
Hang on. How about I prove it? How about I go grab a tape measure right now and prove it?
No, he's saying that you accused him of being 5'6".
Yeah, you accused me of being 5'6", like there's some sort of If I was 5'6", I'd be what? If I was 5'6", 205, you would beat me more, or I would pretend.
Yeah,
to
I
be
would beat
more
you.
or
I'd
something.
beat you worse than I'm already going to beat you. But we'll never have to fight because you'll
I like
chicken.
how the supremacy.
You will chicken shit out because that's what you guys do.
Yeah.
You threw down the challenge, not
What
me.
state do you live in?
You will still chicken shit out. I said I'd pay for it. I live in
State do you live in?
I live in Michigan.
Michigan. That's a long plane ride.
Dude, I'm happy to do it. And I'm telling you right now that I'll get a cameraman out there and we'll find your 5'6" ass and we'll go into the ring where it's regulated and it's all legal.
That's
and
perfect.
we'll do it. You threw the gauntlet down. I'm willing to do it.
Okay. So
I think this is really the only way. You can't really debate fascism, right? And debate a fascist because they use disingenuous arguments and they.
You threw the fucking gauntlet down, not me.
That's what I'm saying. I really like the idea of punching you instead.
Now you're pussing out already.
Okay.
I'm literally not pushing out. I'm saying it's a great idea.
All right, let's go on to some more of these questions. All right, so from Warren, this is to LOL. In a communist system, who decides the demarcation between public and private property, and how are those deciders regulated? That's a good question.
According to Marx, how are those deciders regulated? To each, to his own need, basically, right? And from each, according to their ability. So, it's really hard to explain what a society that's not based on exploiting your neighbor would be to somebody, because people really see this power dynamic and they're like, well, who's in charge, and like who do I go to for money, or who do I go to for this? It would be the community taking care of each other. It's happened in small communes where people like grow food, they take care of each other, everyone gets together and decides things. But in the ideal society with communism, you really got to read Marx and see where he says and where he really predicts where capitalism goes. You know,
he does a lot of hum-hawing, but you notice he didn't actually answer the question. Just so you know,
the community decides.
Got it. The community decides. At least there's an honest answer.
Okay. All right. And so Crazy Hole was asking LOL, what portion of his income goes to charity?
What portion of my income goes to charity?
Yeah, how much?
I actually work for a nonprofit organization. About 6% of my income goes to charity.
I throw down the gauntlet right now that I'll give you a silver coin if you prove that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna like.
You're lying. You're lying. I'll prove it. I'll put my W-2 up right now and show how much I give to charity if you do.
I'm sure you would, Trump, but I work for a
but you won't.
I like literally work for charity.
But how much of your income do you give to charity? I bet you it's 0%. It's 0%. And I'll throw down the gauntlet on it.
See how this fascist is really, really trying to get my information and dox me.
No, I don't. No. No, bullshit. That's a disingenuous argument. You're going to set up a boxing match with me, but I'm doxing you. Give me a fucking break.
I could easily show up and beat your ass in a boxing match, no problem.
Oh, but how would you be able to do that without doxing yourself? Exactly.
You're saying I couldn't wear some sort of covering over my face? It's easy.
Oh my God, he's gonna come as Antifa.
No, get this right.
In a boxing,
you're gonna have a boxing match.
He's gonna wear a luchador mask
where you cover your face and nobody knows who you are. We're just gonna show up one day and you're not nothing. You're gonna fucking what? Go pay some guy who's 6'6" to come out or what? How do we even know it's you?
Why are you afraid now? You're a badass. I can be 6'6".
I'm willing, dude. I'm willing to do it. So but if I show up and the voice is different,
okay, if you show up and you say my voice is different, I'm bigger than you, then I'll know what's happening.
I'll do it happily.
Sure. You know, you're making an educated decision too.
I hold all my bets. I will most certainly do it happily. I'll even take the vacation time to do it. I have sponsors who will happily fly me out there to do a boxing match with Left of Liberal.
That would be perfect.
Happily, but there does need to be some verification that you're you. Give me a break.
Sure.
Okay.
You know,
We'll-
give me a break.
We'll find a
But
common
this
person
app,
to
you
verify.
see how much he wants to dox me. Oh, the poor victim Marxist.
Yeah, you just wanted to see my
boxing
double
match.
Guys, all right, you guys.
The Marxist who challenges me to a boxing match is worried
Did you
about
ask me
getting
for my
doxed.
W2s
What
or
a
not?
puss! What a pussy!
All right, you guys, stop it. All right, so we it looks like we're caught up on most of the questions. So if you guys have any final questions, let us know before we begin to wind this down. I would love to see you guys go at this again on a different topic. I thought this was a great debate.
He threw down the gauntlet. Let's see if he follows through with it. I don't.
Yeah,
know.
I would love to beat your face then, because
Okay, you guys.
Let's see if he brings his and shows us how much he actually gives to charity, because he doesn't give 6% to charity. You can hear the lie. You can just hear the guy.
Yeah, you could hear it. Yeah.
All right. This is let's just get back to that. Okay, so we have Crazy Hole, Ask LL, and Andrew what they do when they see a shopping cart sitting in the middle of a parking lot and it isn't in the cart. Coral, leave it be because it's someone else's problem, or address it. Okay.
I run over and I kick it over and I do a crazy fascist dance, and then I usually light a fire just for fun before I leave with my white privilege. That's how I deal with those shopping carts, Crazy Hole.
Okay. What did Eric said? I haven't heard this much trash talk since the last UFC.
That's right.
He threw down the challenge.
Eric,
He threw
it's
down
our
the
next
challenge. not me.
endeavor. It is our next endeavor. Politically provoked Fight Club coming soon
That would
to
be cool. I like that.
YouTube.
He
That
threw
would be cool.
He threw down the challenge. He threw down the challenge. He'll never
Sure.
follow through with it, Eric.
Yo.
And I guarantee you that they'll try to get him to, and that he'll never follow through with it in a million years.
He
We're gonna do
guarantees
the
that, yeah.
debate.
He guarantees it.
We're gonna do the debate and then a boxing match afterwards. It's a great
So
ultimate
should I
decider.
define boxing
I
for you,
fucking
or
love
can
it.
we agree on what boxing is? Because obviously you have words.
Yes. I box quite a bit. So we're both going to go into a ring, and
Okay.
we're going to have rounds. And
How many rounds and how many minutes per round?
how many do you want to do?
Oh yeah, it's only gonna probably take 3, but we could do 5 if you want.
How about we just do 3 then? 3 rounds on me. My
Okay.
treat. My treat.
Okay, anyways. Nathan says the reason I asked about the labor theory was because we are moving towards a model of pure extraction and imposition of debt. How is that compatible with the labor theory if wealth is just being directly transferred to the new feudal lords?
You're talking about like being replaced by automation and having their I guess how Marx put it is like an army of surplus labor just waiting for jobs in the wings. They did talk about that in overproduction, but I feel like that's part of the labor theory from Marx, and he kind of predicted that would happen. That you eventually going to work yourself with technology out of a job, and there's not going to be enough jobs for everyone, right?
Oh, so Nathan says no, not automation. So I'm not entirely sure what he meant. I have a question. So what exactly would be your ideal government? What would that look like exactly? How would that work?
No government is what he wants.
Right. Ideally, there would be no government. Ideally, right?
Well,
Unicorns.
okay, no,
And
but like
rainbows.
realistically, you guys have realistically, like how would this? I'm curious because you said that Bernie is not left enough for you,
Right? Because Bernie's he's not advocating for us nationalizing any kind of resources, right? Like right now, we have obvious conflicts of interest in capitalism, medical industrial complex, military industrial complex, prison industrial complex. If you have to profit off giving someone care and them being sick, or if you have to profit off of, if you get to profit off of cancer, then what makes you think that you're going to want to cure it? You profit off treating it, not curing it, right? If you profit off people being in prison, then you might have lobbyists that lobby judges to put more people in prison. And now we have the most people in prison per capita of any country. So, I mean, there's a lot of conflicts of interest in capitalism that have to be addressed and identified before we can really take any steps towards
And how would the communist proletariat, after their violent overthrow of the government, who now has a governmentless society, deal with the criminal element exactly?
So let's qualify your statement. You're assuming that it's going to be a violent overthrow, or that we can't.
Okay, so they do a
society in
neutral
stages,
overthrow
right?
where they just
So
vote all the
how-
Let him finish. Go ahead.
How would we deal with crime? Well, if you look at crime, the major and main, I hope we can all agree, contributor and factor of crime is poverty. People are impoverished, and therefore they commit crimes. They want money, they want resources. They don't have resources. There are the resources that they want, and there's not enough legitimate opportunity for them to get the stuff that they want, or it's not easy enough for them, so that they resort to crime.
What about serial killers?
We can say serial killers account for maybe less than half of a percent of.
So how
all
does your
crime, right?
unorganized, non-government, centralized, non-government entity deal with serial killers?
How will
How will
serial
you
killers be
investigate?
dealt with in
How will you
idealism?
investigate?
Okay,
and-
all right, let it go.
So how will you investigate and give the resources to the detectives or the state agency, because there is no state agency, to hunt down serial killers whose only product is fleshing a person's skin off? Can you flesh that out for us?
And let him finish his thought too, though.
Sure. So
Okay,
the
go
community would provide that service, because the community would provide every service, right? Community would own the means of production, in that they would own the food, transportation collectively. So if collectively there was a need for someone to solve a crime, then that would happen, because some people have those skills, to each according to his own skill. The community would handle it.
So how would these detectives be trained? How would the community fund that?
The community wouldn't have to fund anything. There would be trainings for any kind of industry that you would actually need. You wouldn't have to fund things. There's no lack of resources, right? There's a lack of money for them. So we have abundant resources on Earth, and there's still people starving. It's not because we don't have the resources. It's because there's this imaginary bullshit, and you're like, well, how are we going to pay for it?
So again, the detectives are going to work because the community asks them to.
Because in a stateless society, they would understand that they're part of the community. Yeah.
But what if they go, well, I can solve this crime, but I want more than my share of potatoes this week? Would the community give it to them?
If we got there, we wouldn't be in a communist society, would we? If we had some sort of
So what happens to the detective who says, I can find this guy, but I just don't want to, because you don't give me more than what I think I deserve? What happens to him?
What happens to people who are just being
people who people who don't want to go,
people who just don't want to work?
Well, no, they just don't want to do what you ask them to, even though they can.
Do you think that everyone will the entirety of all of the detectives will act that way?
Nature, if I have a service, if I'm excellent at doing something and you're not,
right?
And I think that I might want you to give me something for doing that service. It's insane, I know, but I really think that I would, because I would right now. So.
All right, so Nathan, it looks like he's clarifying some more. I'm talking about the fact that, for instance, banks are making an increasing share of their income from just extraction of fines and fees, rather than anything that's actually productive.
Yeah, he's right about that.
Yep, banks are bullshit. They're the enemy.
Okay. So question from Rachel Noma to, I believe, both of you. What type of work do each of these guys do? Maybe their practical experience will shed light on their positions. So I don't know, Andrew, if you want to go first.
I'm a mechanical engineer.
Okay. LOL.
Yeah, I work as a network engineer, network technology.
Okay. Yeah, we got like a mini sighting of Todd. That was fun. A little bit of a tease, though.
You look pretty yellow. What are you, some kind of
yellow?
You some kind of
yellow, baby.
You some kind
High
of coon?
yellow. High yellow, baby. Hodge twin yellow.
Well, okay, so I think
left of liberal, that wasn't me being racist. That's because other black people like to call my friend a coon. So just letting you
Absolutely.
know.
Yeah. Don't report him left of liberal.
Okay, so Andrew, are you a trained engineer, and did you study it at school?
Both. So I studied at school and in the field for thousands of hours. I have less formal schooling than I do field schooling, but yeah, I've been to college as far as technology engineering goes. Yes, I don't have just so you know, I don't have a 4-year degree, but it's not a requirement to be a mechanical engineer or an electrical engineer. It's hours served. It's an apprenticeship, more or less.
Okay, what field do you work in? Well, okay, so Todd, do you have anything you want?
I'll go back because he's asking specifically. He says, what type of field do you work in? I work on heavy industrial machines.
Okay. Yeah, so yeah, Todd, did you have anything you wanted to?
No, this was great.
It was really good.
We're gonna get politically provoked fighting going next.
He'll never do it. He'll never do it.
Well, hey man, we'll see, man. Like I said, we'll give him the chance. I don't think it's even necessary. It was just funny. Lefties normally do that.
I think it is kind of.
I've been threatened with violence numerous
if
times.
you throw down the gauntlet, I say you got to go through with it.
I agree,
listen, man. And I've dropped the address too, and nobody ever shows up. It's how lefties do it, you know. But anyway, yeah, I think it was great. We're gonna go through and I'm gonna rewatch it. I'm gonna fact check it. I'm gonna get everybody's sources, and we will announce the formal winner or whatever decision we come up with. So no, it's very good, guys.
Yeah, it was great.
We talked over each other a lot, but
a lot.
I'm the talk over king, so I do that too. Hang around afterwards, and
well, I mean, we are like formal enemies, I guess.
I understand.
So
no, I get it, and it was kind of, our debates are starting to get where they're not traditional, where one person will say something and then they'll respond with a question, and the other person has to answer the question. So I had no problem with it, but it does, you know, we try to work on that. But listen,
I understand.
Great job, guys. Great. Yeah. No, like I said, both parties did great. So.
Yeah, no,
anyway.
So if you guys have anything else you want to say before we start to close this down.
Well, I see Left of Liberal just said about definitions. National Geographic does say communism. I was not going to do this on air, but since you're popping off, National Geographic does say communism is a form of government. So, but
okay.
I didn't want. Well, I don't. So maybe you should. You always laugh at my sources. Well, I'll send it to you. It's not me.
National Geographic, yeah.
National I don't. Is that not peer reviewed enough for you or anything? I'm just saying.
I'd have to see the op-ed that you're trying to.
I will. No, it's actually from them. But yeah, I'll send it to
you. Guys, we're closing this down. We're not getting ourselves into another debate here.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, right. Close it. He popped on with a comment.
I know. Well, let's just give Left of Liberal, if you have anything else to say before we close, and then we'll give it to Andrew, and then we'll
I think it was a really kind of super disingenuous debate. I definitely know that we disagree on the meaning of words. You know, I guess that's the thing to take away, that you have to maybe go back and read some Marx, better understand your enemy. If you really profess to hate something and don't know about it, then you lose a lot of respect. Not that you have any respect of the fascists.
So my closing argument is that the most disingenuous thing that I've ever heard is that I can point to dozens of examples of real-time communism, but we're not going to actually apply those because of fairy tale unicorns and leprechauns. That's the most ridiculous thing that I've ever heard in my life, and that is what is disingenuous.
You call it communism, so you can call it whatever you want. I'm sure it's fine.
But they're all followers of Marx. We've been over this, man.
Yeah, we did. You're not gonna get it. It's okay.
You got fucking crushed, and it's one more.
No, you don't know the definition of words. It's really bad.
So you guys, you know what I think maybe we can do? I don't know if maybe a rematch of some sort. We can have a very maybe specific, like on socialism versus something, and make sure that we are both defining something accurately or on the same page. I would love to see you guys have a rematch though, maybe on some different topics, but I thought this was a great debate. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, I mean, Andrew's not an easy person to debate, but you gave him a run for his money. So it was great. Other than that, I think we have some stuff scheduled for next week. We have an abortion debate on Friday. I think that's at 10 p.m. Eastern, and that will be with Ruth and Nicole. So we will be having that debate. We have some interviews planned also this week. And this is something that we're going to be doing a lot more of. Anybody that has come on the program is going to come on the program or is looking to debate. We would like to sit down for maybe a 30-minute interview, just kind of almost getting a baseline for each person on various positions and where you stand and what you're the most passionate about and what you would be interested in debating. That way people can go to look at a specific video and see if they're interested in debating somebody on that topic. So people that have
just one thing before we close.
Yeah.
After I kick your ass in the boxing match, I'm gonna fuck your wife.
Okay. I'm gonna mute you in a second.
So that's
he might enjoy
treaty,
that.
right?
Something tells me he's going to
It's not
enjoy
against the
that.
treaty at all.
Right?
Anyway,
All right.
night, guys.
Yeah, good night. I'm fucking muting that for a while. Anyway, so as I was saying, yeah, so we're going to be doing that. So people that have been on previously, we might go to you and ask you to do one in general. Other than that, I think that's about it. So I guess catch us. I think the next live is going to be on Friday. And yeah, I think that's about it. So good night. Thanks for watching. And thanks for Left a Liberal and Andrew for coming on. And thanks to Tad, my co-host. Good night, guys.
I bet those glasses make you see better.